Okay, well, I don't know what's going on. I get about half an hour through this thing and it just, it stops. But I'm moving my collection. You can see I'm on cube number 8. I'm on cube number 9. I'm on box number 9 out of 10 boxes, out of 25 cubes. I also have a few other crates and stuff like that that I'm gonna haul records in. So I'm trying to get as much done as I can. This thing keeps crashing on me, so I was just talking about Franz Ferdinand and how I did a deep dive on this album's history. I also did a 10 albums you should check out if you like Franz Ferdinand video, where I shared 10 albums from my collection that I think you should check out if you like Franz Ferdinand. This is a Swedish band called Fredrik, F-R-E-D-R-E-K, Fredrik, something like that, I-K, and I saw them. They originally started as a band called the Love Kevins, which then became the LK. I finally found this one. The band actually posted something on Facebook ages ago. This is called Trilogy, with an I at the end rather than Y. And they're Swedish. They've got this dreamy sound to it. Really, really good. And then this other one by them. Once again, I'm not sure what's going on. I get about half an hour through the live stream as I'm packing up my records and it just decides to quit on me. But I'm kind of going through the collection. I am sharing a few bits and pieces of what I'm finding. 2,500 piece collection. The Fugs, which was supposed to be said really fast, the Fugs. So it sounded like they're saying fucks. Once again, the Fugs. This album, first album, has a song called Boobs a Lot. And it's just super weird and quirky and ridiculous. But the Fugs are kind of a 60s, 70s band. And yeah, I don't know what got me into them. I think I just stumbled upon them and decided to take a chance. Kind of enjoyed it. On to G's, Charlotte Gainsbourg, of course, the daughter of Serge Gainsbourg, the famous chanson artist, who is right here with Jane Birkin. Beautiful Love. You got his album History to Melody Nelson, and this one. I don't speak French, so I don't really know what these say, but I'm not going to try to pronounce them. I do have a decent chanson collection. Handful of artists, but some good stuff there. Galaxy 500 on fire. I'm going to try to knock this video out before it crashes, before YouTube crashes again. But yeah. Gandalf and Gandalf. This is one of my most valuable records in my collection. 1969, I believe, psychedelic rock. Truly phenomenal record. I only paid $20 for this. It's not in the greatest condition, and still, even at a good plus on the record and a VG on the sleeve, I could probably fetch $400, $500, $600 for that. Yeah. A couple from Gang of Four, which made my 10 albums to check out if you like Franz Ferdinand video that I did. Another kind of obscure one that I think is a little underappreciated, a band called Gap Dream. They were part of the Burger Records label, which had a lot of issues. If you're familiar with that story, Burger Records kind of was almost single-handedly responsible for the cassette tape resurgence in like about 10 years ago. They released a ton of stuff on cassette, all indie, a lot of it garage, some of it punk. And they got caught up in the whole Me Too thing, which a lot of indie bands did some not good things. With just that whole scene was just as grimy as the music they created. But I really enjoyed some of Gap Dream's stuff. Through a caveat. Gabe Fulvamart, to my recollection, was not part of that component of that. I mean, Burger Records released hundreds, if not thousands of records. So, you know, it was more the label, some people in the label management, some of the top bands on there. To my recollection, Gap Dream was not part of that, but yeah. Jaco Gardner, Trouble in Mind is the label, some good stuff there. This is another little-known band, tragically little-known, German Error Message, kind of a mellow, lo-fi indie, just a guy out of, I think, Chicago. I can't remember what his name is, but he puts out some really, really great stuff. I talked earlier about Vagrant Records and doing a deep dive during the early Napster days, 2000, 2001. And one of the bands that I discovered in that binge was the Get Up Kids. And this is their album, Eudora. Let's see. Moving on to cube number 10. See if I can pull out anything good here. How about this one? This is a band that kind of had some hype in the last couple of years. Girl in Red. They, yeah, kind of more of like a teen hype. God, I feel so old saying that. I turned 40, what is this year? The 2024? I turned 44 this year. So I even have to think about that now. I'm like, how old am I? You know you're getting old when you stop remembering how old you are. Girl Trouble, more like 90s-ish garage rock type stuff. Sub Pop. I don't know what label this is on. Levici, something like that. They sold me a lot of records. Rick Schlosser, I think his name is. We're friends on Facebook now, but he sent me a lot of records back in the day. He got this massive collection. I pulled a lot of stuff, great stuff from him. This is a band called Girls, and I got a few of their records. I just love their work too. A duo. Christopher Owens and another guy. The other guy came, put out an album called, or a band called Papa, and I actually have found that one in British Columbia as well, signed by them nonetheless. Glass Animals and Zaba. Love Glass Animals. Dreamland, and Zaba Stripped, which is an acoustic, stripped down rendition of a number of songs from Zaba. Early, kind of like, if you like Sunny Day Real Estate, do check out the Gloria record. Very similar sounds there. This one I think is probably even a little bit more emo, but you know, same vein of like Appleseed Cast, stuff like that. God Help the Girl, Stuart Murdoch from Belle and Sebastian. I think a couple years back when they first started that, I think he put out like a thing to get some female vocalists to create a new project, and that's kind of what came out of that. Godspeed You Black Emperor. Jose Gonzalez and In Our Nature, which has a phenomenal, just soft, mellow, acoustic cover of Massive Attack's Teardrop. Another one from the late 60s. This is a reissue, but truly underappreciated artist, Sam Gopal and Escalator. Really good stuff there. The Gories, Gorillas. Okay, Grand Archives. I talked a little bit earlier about Band of Horses. This is Grand Archives. It's not still sealed anymore. I've since opened it. Their I believe it's self-titled debut. I saw that question. I'll answer that in a second. Yeah, self-titled debut. I saw the band perform their release party for this, and they brought in a few members from the guy's previous band, Carissa's Weird, and they performed a few songs from Carissa's Weird, and I had always loved that band since the moment I discovered Carissa's Weird. it broke off into so many great artists: Bands of Horses, Grand Archives, and Sarah Cahoon. Even the original drummer, Robin Perringer, became part of 764 Hero, who I shared at the beginning of my videos there. The boxes I'm using, I actually picked up at a place called Boxes for You. This is just a 14 by 14 by 14 cube box, which is pretty much the dimensions of this. I think this is actually 13 and a half, so just a little bit more. Yeah, Carissa's Weird, so good. I talk about them in my upcoming video on Thursday, so definitely check that one out. Okay, I'm pretty much done with this box. Yeah. One more of my 14 by 14 by 14 boxes. Oh, Jesus. So heavy. I'm gonna be buffed by the end of this move. Their records are definitely quite expensive. Yeah, Carissa's Weird. Whew. I think I have all of their CDs as well. And that includes some of the really obscure things too. Grizzly Bear. This is the Vinyl Me Please pressing on this kind of like cool custard vinyl. Oh, it doesn't have that facing. It's got this kind of cool custard vinyl there. I love this album. Yellow House. I also have a few others from them. The Catamist and Shields by Grizzly Bear right there. Moving on to the next one is on the G's, getting close to midpoint, Margot Guryan. If you've not checked out Margot Guryan, truly, truly amazing artist. 1968, I believe. I mean, I think she was really inspired by the Beach Boys and in particular some of Brian Wilson's stuff off of like Pet Sounds. She only really released this and then just kind of completely disappeared into obscurity. And then she released a kind of protest song in the early 2000s after GWB became president. And it was a really interesting, they had a really interesting music video for that one. On to H. And that's going to kick off with, of course, the Halo Benders. Don't tell me now. Don't tell me now. The Halo Benders. Halo Benders is Kelvin Johnson from K Records and Doug Marsh of Built to Spill from the 90s. Really cool stuff. Marsh has always had this really interesting voice, and Kelvin Johnson's voice is extremely interesting as well. It's a very baritone, whereas Marsh's is, I don't even know how to describe it, but the pairing of the two doesn't seem like it would work, but it works really, really well. Neo Soul, Curtis Harding. Amazing, amazing album, Soul Power. If you like any of that Neo Soul stuff, do check out Curtis Harding. I mean, we're talking like Charles Bradley, Lee Fields, Leon Bridges, Khruangbin, those types of artists. Please check out Curtis Harding. I've got a few of his. Face Your Fear, and this is from a couple years ago, If Words Were Flowers. I told you I had some more Chanson, and I do. Here's my Francois Hardy collection. Got a handful of records by her. So some really good stuff there. I really got into her after seeing some of her stuff featured in a Wes Anderson film. I think it was Moonrise Kingdom. Harlem and Hippies. This is a kind of a rare one as well. Matador Records is kind of a garage punk, I would say. I don't know how many times I've listened to this, but I kind of picked it up because I needed something else to get just to that, free shipping spot for Rough Trade, and it's Jack Harlow. Come Home, The Kids Miss You, LP. So, yeah. Got some PJ Harvey here. And some of the kind of demo reissues that she did. I do have a sizable Hawkwind collection, including some that are autographed. I picked those up from my local record shop in Mount Vernon, Washington. back when I lived there. Here's another one. Hawkwind. Space Rock. Warrior on the Edge of Time. Sonic Attack. And whatever this one is. So that's Hawkwind. Yeah. There's this band, kind of an indie folk band from Canada around the turn of the century that I got into. Really sad, mopey stuff. The guy goes by the name Hayden, and I was able to pick up this original copy of In Field and Town. I've always loved a lot of the stuff on this record. The first one that he had is the one that I really got into. I had that on CD for a long time. I don't have it any longer, I don't think. But he also had this one called Hey Love. But if you like really sad, depressing music, check out Hayden. Lee Hazelwood. So getting into some of that kind of like super cool, the cool side of country. I can't really show this cover. It's got a lot of nude people on it. But I also have Nancy and Lee. One of the best songs about really bad deeds. Some Velvet Morning. God, that song just makes me cringe. Like they get drunk and they kind of get together and hook up, and then like she's all crying and he's like, whatever, I'm cool. Just, it wouldn't fly today. Death Magic by Health. I saw Health perform after their debut album. It was at South by Southwest in 2007 or 2008. The only 2 years I went. And I got some of the best live photographs I've ever taken there at that show. And I mean, it was just, they're like this noise experimental band out of LA. So cool. Moving on to the lower, I'm on the third row now. Heartless Bastards. I love these guys. So good. This one's signed too, so I did not pay $50 for it either. This is one I first picked up by them, Arrow, but the Mountain that I just showed, the signed one, is the one that really got me into the band. This is their album from a couple years ago, first album in 6 years, A Beautiful Life. You know, I don't know, it didn't really do that much for me compared to the previous ones. Just, I don't know. If you like Black Mountain, you'll probably like Heartless Bastards. Okay, got some Hendrix. So earlier I shared Gandalf. Well, I also have an album by the Hobbits. Also from like the late 60s or early 70s. Not much to see in here. Yeah. The rest of H is okay, but let's look at I. Idle Race. This is, Idle Race's second studio album featuring ELO's Jeff Lynne. Released exclusively for Record Store Day 2016 on splattered color vinyl. Look at that. That is super cool. I love some of those colored vinyl pieces. Yeah, just so cool. Indian Summer. Now, there was a band called Indian Summer in the 90s as well, maybe late 80s, that was like post-hardcore or hardcore or something like that. This is not them. Even though you kind of still see that kind of cactus on some of their stuff. This is a band from, I think, the late 60s that kind of like a hard rock, almost psychedelic type stuff. Very interesting. And then I have a handful by the Innocence Mission, soft melodic, folk pop type stuff, and Interpol, a few by Interpol. I covered them recently in my Best of 2004, as well as my top 10 albums you should check out if you like Franz Ferdinand. And that's it. That's all for I. J, we're going to start off with Jeff the Brotherhood. Now this is a kind of a garagey band I've got a number of their things. This is what originally got me into the band, Heavy Days. Some really good stuff there. Though one of my favorites is Hey Friend off of We Are the Champions. And there's a really great story. I can't remember if I tell it on one of my videos or not, about going through some personal stuff and some transformations back in like 2018. And I got together with a friend that fall as some of that stuff was kind of kicking into gear. I'd just been like building up all this energy and stress and just anxiety and all this kind of stuff. And she's like, I want to like lay down on the floor and just like listen to music. And so like we hung out. I just took a couple pillows, and we just laid down on our backs and listened to this album right here, it's called Magic Songs. And one of my favorite ways to listen to records, I'm going to be doing a video on the things that people do while listening to records. This is not one of them. It's going to be about distractions. This is if you eliminate all other distractions, turn out the lights or put a blindfold on or something like that, just lay there and listen and like truly listen to the record. And I did that, and afterwards, I was just hit with this incredible sense of peace. And something I hadn't really felt in months. And it was just such a needed experience. 10 boxes are packed. I'm now on to a few crates. Oh, I got one more, Jeff the Brotherhood. Better stick that back here. Okay, so next is Joy Division / New Order. So the way I have my collection organized, as I kind of mentioned before, is alphabetical, but anyone that has more than a number of like 5 albums or something like that, I pull them out to the front of that letter, kind of like you would see in like a record store. So obviously, not so obviously. Not sure what one this is, doesn't say right off that. I'm not going to open it up right now, but one thing I haven't really done is just done like, here's my Joy Division collection, and done a big sharing of that. This is the Peel Sessions, and this is also the Peel Sessions. This is kind of like the original cover, whereas like this is more of a reissue. I also have some obscure things like this German compilation of Joy Division. And this Lee Rock Festival of Joy Division. And then I get into New Order. Like I said, I will combine artists that are related or have crossover members and stuff in some of these as well. And New Order, of course, is basically what the band became after Ian Curtis passed. Power, Corruption, and Lies by New Order, original pressing there. I've got this one here. The name is eluding me at the moment. I'm embarrassed about that, but that's okay. Low Life, that's right. And Blue Monday single there. And I also have Peel Sessions by New Order, and then an original of Substance, 1987. Now this they just reissued as well on vinyl in the last year, I believe. Let's get this all organized here. Damien Jurado. I'm not going to say too much about him. I went on a huge Damien Jurado binge a couple years back. Like I said, huge Damien Jurado binge. He's been releasing like a ridiculous number of records as well. Like 1, maybe even 2 a year in the last couple of years. This is one of them. Well, actually, let me just back up. Well, the one that I think I like most is probably going to be Maricopa. And this, he actually ended up starting his own label to release all of his own stuff, and it was called Maricopa Records as well. So I don't know if this is on it or if this is on, this is still on Secretly Canadian. This is from 2012. Damien Jurado. onto the J's. If this video crashes again, I may just kind of wrap up whatever section I'm on so I can get these back to the house and then come back later and fire it up again. But Julia Jacqueline, Don't Let the Kids Win. I'm kind of bummed that that sticker got kind of a little erased, but whatever. Julia Jacqueline is another Australian artist. This is the album that I think probably most people know her by, Crushing. And this made my number, I'm not sure exactly where it landed on the list, but it was my top 10 most listened to records. And then Pre-Pleasure from a couple years ago. Continuing on the J's, let's see if there's anything good. Jane's Addiction, Been Caught Stealing. I can't remember exactly where I found that. I think it was at Josie Records here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Some good stuff. Also have this one from Jane's Addiction, 3 Days. And then I picked this up when I got that Carl Blau album that I shared a while back. But Birthday Blues by Bert Jansch, kind of Americana folk type stuff. Continuing on the J's, let's see if there's anything good to talk about in here. Oh, just bear with me a sec while I try to make more room in this crate. Oh my gosh. I think I've got too many records. I know that's what my wife would say. Jeremy J. Now this is a guy from K Records, and he released a lot of like mellowish pop rock type stuff. I think the album that I think resonated most with me was this next one here, Dream Diary. Lo-fi-ish, stuff like that. Jeremy J, really good stuff. I enjoy that. I haven't listened to him in a while. Okay, another one, if you like the Sunny Day Real Estate, Gloria record, talked about Appleseed Cast. It's a band called Jejune, Jejune, and this is a picture disc album of their album. I can't remember what the album is called, but it's got Morale is Low. Maybe it's called Morale is Low. This Afternoon's Malady. There's just really interesting stuff on here. I love this album. I picked it up for $4 in 2007. I don't think it's worth that anymore. I think it's quite a bit steeper than that, but yeah. So I went to see one of my favorite artists of all time, Kevin Morby, last fall? Or was it, it's been over a year now. I can't remember. It might have been 2022. Yeah, it might have been 2022. But the person that opened for him was Cassandra Jenkins. And I have a couple records here of her. An overview on, okay, I got my tongue twisted there. An overview on Phenomenal Nature. So her album is called An Overview on Phenomenal Nature, and this is an overview on that. Yeah. How about some Jesus and Mary Chain, Damage and Joy, Automatic, Psycho Candy, and Dreamlands, which is a terrible condition, but all great albums. There's one, I can't remember what it's called. I think it's from 1994 that I'd really love to get my hands on. I'm just aching for that to be reissued. Has one of their more popular songs on it as well. So, yeah. Continuing through my collection in the J's. Almost done with this crate. I think I'm just going to finish up the J's. Oh, a couple more Jesus and Mary Chains there as well. I think that's going to do it for the J's and this crate. Oh, too many records. I've got some of these kind of wicker basket crates as well. That's what's up next. I think I'm gonna get halfway through this. I'm gonna be able to make it in 2 trips. I'm kind of impressed with myself here. Oh, there was one more J. Better put that one with the others. Okay, first off, thank you for tuning in. I know there's not a ton of you out there, but hey, I appreciate it. And I've been thinking about doing this for ages. So here is my big ass kinks section. You really got me, kind of kinks, kink size, kink controversy. We're just getting started, folks. Oh my God. Kingdom, face to face, something else. Most of these are original press. Actually, all of these are really original pressings or early pressings. Power Man, this is another one I did a deep dive on, like interesting fact video on, and this one really tanked. I don't know what it was. Maybe it's because I had kinks in the title. Power Man, talk about how Lola is kind of like this transgender person in music or something like that. It's a really fascinating album, by the way. If you dig into the history of this, it's kind of like it's a concept album on kind of being jilted by the music industry, which the Kinks most certainly were in their early days. The Village Green Preservation Society, Muswell Hillbillies, Arthur, Preservation Act 1. What else we got here? The Great Lost Kinks. Got a lot from the Kinks. Preservation Act 2, Kink Chronicles, and finally, a complete collection. So there's my Kinks collection of albums. On to the official K section now that I'm done with the Kinks. Karate and The Bed is in the Ocean. Got some Khruangbin and Leon Bridges, which is right here. When I first moved to Texas in 2020, like literally, I left Washington State in early March, and it felt like the world was ending. If you kind of recall, the first cases of COVID started popping up in Spokane in the States that were reported cases in early March, late February, early March. I had just come back from visiting my friend in Canada. I wasn't sure if I was going to make it over the border. But when I let out of there about March 2, March 3, things were popping up in Portland and California now, and in Seattle, the first cases had been announced, and it just felt like, oh my God, this thing is like coming, it's spreading, look how fast it's going. And I loaded up at the time I worked at a Harley shop. I was on the management team, and I loaded up my motorcycle in the back of my little dinky pickup. At the time, I rode a Royal Enfield GT 650. I've since sold it because riding on the roads in Texas scares the crap out of me. One, the drivers are absolutely nuts. Two, the roads are terrible because the soil moves so much. Everything's got cracks and holes and all that kind of stuff. And so it just felt like it was kind of like, you ever watch The Walking Dead where like they're lighting out a town, like a zombie apocalypse is hitting you, and like the roads are all backed up. The roads weren't yet backed up, but I felt like I was fleeing like this impending apocalypse. It was wild. But Texas Sun by Khruangbin and Leon Bridges, after I got out of that area and was kind of like making my way down to Texas in my truck, I played that song a lot. Long story for not much of an ending. And Texas Moon. As a whole, I prefer this album, this EP, Texas Moon. As a whole, better. Texas Sun, the song though, by far my favorite of the pairing of Khruangbin and Leon Bridges. Okay, deep psychedelic rock. Modern, international, Japanese, Kikagaku Moyo. Amazing, amazing stuff. If you like that kind of worldly psychedelic rock, do check these guys out. Kikagaku Moyo. I've got a lot from them. In fact, they should probably have their own section. This is their most recent, Kamoyo Island. And I believe it's their last album as well. They kind of figured they were done making music. Okay, I'm hitting about the 35-minute mark, which means this might crash again, because I think that's where it's crashed the last 2 times. Got the kills. And if I do, you might miss some of the L's. Or maybe I'll just go and work on my 7 inches and come back later. So, yeah. King Tough. I love these guys. Again, like modern, psychedelic-ish, garagey-ish. King Tough. Live at Third Man Records. The Other. Love it. And then last year's album, Small Town Stardust. Didn't make my best of list, the top 10 countdown. If I would have done a top 15, maybe it would have eked in there. Okay, you like Simon and Garfunkel? Dual male harmonies, folk, kings of convenience. These guys, truly amazing. This is their sophomore album, The Quiet. Quiet is the new loud. Then they also had, this is their debut album, unless you count their self-titled one, which had a very limited print, and was also a little bit more stripped down. It was almost like they just released demos. If you count that as their first, this is their sophomore. Quiet is the new loud. Riot on an Empty Street is their third. They're Norwegian. Like I said, indie folk pop, and lovely melodies, all acoustic. Really, really good stuff. In fact, I think 1 or 2 of the songs on this actually has Feist as a backup singer. And then there's the first album they released after those 2, quite a few years later, is Declaration of Dependence, which is also good, but doesn't quite touch those other 2. And then there's this 12-inch, I guess, remix of Kings of Convenience versus Fortet. Awesome stuff here. Now, Erlend Øye, who is one of the 2 members of that band, he also had his own solo project under his own name, and he also has a band called The Whitest Boy Alive. The one under his own name, he actually paired with the band Röyksopp for a few songs, and one of those songs, if you remember back in the day when Geico would do those commercials with the cavemen, well, there's this one where the caveman is on one of those things at the airport, one of those like rolling escalator things. And he sees like the sign that says, "So easy a caveman can do it." And that music is playing in the background. It's Erlend Øye. And he like stops and he's like, and he just like slides on by. I loved that commercial when it came out. And I loved it even more that Erlend Øye was part of it. Kishibashi, which is Kei Ishibashi, who is a violinist and songwriter. And he contributes a lot of violin to Of Montreal. Michael Kiwanuka. So if you like any of that like neo-soul type stuff, that kind of bluesy type stuff, Michael Kiwanuka. Really, really great stuff there. The Knife, I talked about them a little bit earlier when I talked about Fever Ray and Burial. I'm almost done with this little crate, and I'm almost done with the K's. Kraftwerk and Autobahn, a few original pressings there, and Trans-Europe Express. Some really good stuff. Got a couple more from The Knife, too. I'm gonna leave it at this for this crate. I've got a few more of these as well. But they're smaller, so they're not going to be able to hold nearly as much. Yeah. Next up is LCD Sound System. I'd like to get their first one. I believe it's self-titled, but I don't have it. I believe that first one came out in 2005, so almost 20 years. Sound of Silver, though, was the first one I got on vinyl, followed by This Is Happening. Great stuff there. And then the more recent American Dream. Got a handful of singles from them as well, including the extremely long 45:33, which is a 45-minute, 33-second song. On to Low. Now, I've talked about Low a number of times. I have a couple over at the other place already because I was working on some projects that included them. But, Songs for a Dead Pilot, I did a review of that one. Here's an In the Fish Tank right here with Dirty 3 as the other band. Come On, which always just makes me think of Arrested Development. Drums and Guns, The Great Destroyer, one of the greater albums of 2004, by the way, on that list for sure. And then Secret Name. Some really great stuff by Low. Low, of course, Alan Spearhawk and Mimi Parker. Parker, who passed away, I believe it's Mimi Parker. She passed away a couple years ago after the release of Hey What, which is over at my new place. One of my all-time favorite albums by that band. It is my favorite album by that band, Low. Truly great. With slowcore dream pop-ish. On to L. La Luz, La Sera, Lace Curtains. More from the K Records area, Lake, Olympia, Washington. Giving and Receiving is the name of that album. If you have a dirty mind like I do, that kind of goes in some other places. Lali Puna, I discovered these guys back when I was working at the radio station I don't really remember too much about this band, but I was able to pick up this for just $4 at Easy Street Records in Seattle, back when they had the Lower Queen Anne location. It was truly my favorite record store. I saw so many bands play there live. I got so many great records from that place. My one Kendrick Lamar album that I've got here, I've got two others over at the new place already, both Damn and whatever one that was that he released more recently. An original pressing of La Tigra, kind of like a Riot Girl, Kathleen Hanna type stuff. Left Bank, some early kind of like late 60s chamber pop. Good stuff there. Jens Lekman from Sweden. When you said you wanted to be, when I said I wanted to be your dog. Very submissive title there. Oh, You're So Silent, Jens, or Jens. And then I've got that same album, but the reissue version. So originally it was this. And then this is kind of a reworked. This is a reconstruction, reimagining, excavation of the album Oh, You're So Silent, Jens, that originally came out in 2005. And you can see he titled it to me, Andrew, I want you to have this record because it just keeps reminding me of you anyway. Well, thank you, Jens. No, it's not really about me. That was not written by him about me. Maybe it was written by him, maybe not, I don't know. But this has some reworkings of albums, or of songs from this album here, and kind of a remastered as well. There was also Night Falls Over Cortadala, which was reworked to become The Linden Trees Are Still in Blossom. And that original album came out in 2007, Night Falls Over Cortadala. This one, I think, came out a year or two ago. Jens Lekman. I talked briefly about The Pains of Being Pure at Heart, Ex-Lovers, and this band, Letting Up Despite Great Faults. You can see this has an OBI strip, kind of like that Ex-Lovers one did. This was released by the same label, P-Vine Records. This is a 2009 album. Amazing stuff. If you like that kind of like shoegaze resurgence, kind of a lovelorn, lovesick stuff, love it. So good. All right, I can see Letting Up fan. Sweet. I've got some more for you then, because check this out. Untogether, Neon, and that's it. They released a new album, I think a year and a half ago or something like that. I have not picked it up yet. I'd really like to. I think they're actually from Austin as well, Austin, Texas. So not too far from here. Next up, Jenny Lewis. All right, I'm gonna have to check that out then. Thank you, Floating Image. Oh, hey, how's it going, man? That's Ethan, Floating Images of Youth. Check out his Instagram. He's got some really cool stuff. He's picked up a record or a CD or two, like a rare, obscure thing. He photographs some really awesome things. So I'll give you a little shout out there. Here's The Lights. And this is kind of, I think these guys are a Seattle band. I came across them by chance back in like the early 2000s when I lived in Seattle. I would go to that Easy Street Records place, and I would just like buy things randomly that just looked interesting. And that was one that was like a local band, and they were like got talked up. I was like, you know, I'll pay the $10 for it. And I've picked up one of their earlier CDs and was just like, this is really, really good. That album doesn't quite live up to that first CD that I got, but oh well. Not many people know about them. Here's kind of an interesting one. The Lords of Altamont. Kind of like a hard rock, garage rock. 12 tracks of gear-grinding garage rock featuring exclusive bonus song. Lords of Altamont. They to me, like, this is motorcycle rock. That's what that is. Lords of Altamont. So you think of Hell's Angels and motorcycle gangs and all that, because as you know, working at a Harley shop back in the late teens, I think that's when I discovered these guys. It just made me think of like riding my motorcycle. I had an Iron 883. It was like totally ratted out. I mean, it was like had patina pieces on it and all that kind of stuff. Rather than doing this typical, like, they call them ape hangers, which is just a terrible name. Ape hangers, like if you're sitting on the motorcycle, you've got those big bars that come up here, like you're like riding it like that. That's ape hangers. That's what they call them. It's just terrible. But instead, I went the opposite route that Harley people do. I did the drag bars, and so you're kind of like hunched over, which gave the bike a completely different character. I loved it. Speaking of love, I've got a handful of original Love albums here. Da Capo, Forever Changes, For Sale, and that one. Can't remember what it's called off the top of my head.